Greetings, everyone. I'm Vox Day. This is the Darkstream. voxday.blogspot.com. Hey, Mike Cernovich. Message popping up. He's not actually watching this. Anyhow, voxday.blogspot.com, Infogalactic News, and of course, Castalia House. It's been kind of a crazy day today. What do I think of the Blaze drama? I have to admit, I do not think of the Blaze at all. I have never read it, watched it, or paid any attention to it whatsoever. Glenn Beck is not someone that I've ever taken seriously, even back before he was covering himself with Cheetos and whatnot. Most of the people at the Blaze that I've seen struck me as midwits, Cuckservatives, people who have absolutely nothing to say or offer. There was a guy who commented on what's his name? I can't remember his name. Matt something maybe. He's one of those guys who likes to be very Matt Walsh. Yep, that's it, Matt Walsh. Anyhow, he was going on about how he wanted to debate a Trump supporter, and so I just said on Twitter, back I was still on Twitter then, I said, fine, Matt, let's debate. You want to debate a Trump supporter? I'm a Trump supporter. He immediately tried to back off. No. I only want to debate someone who's got a radio show. It's like you weren't limiting it to that. You were just talking about Trump supporters. I'm a Trump supporter. I've got a blog with 3 million monthly page views and whatnot. It's certainly considered sizable. Why not? Anyhow, these people are not serious. Cerno has a theory that Tommy Lauren had gone on The View and talked about being pro-choice in order to get out of her contract with the Blaze or whatever. That is literally the full extent of my knowledge. I don't pay any attention to this Tommy, whoever she is. I don't pay any attention to the Blaze. It's just not, they're not the kind of people that I think have anything to say that's interesting. So let's move on. Good point. What was going on today was kind of funny. We can't. Now, some of you probably know John Scalzi of Tor Books is coming out with a book tomorrow. It's called The Collapsing Empire. So we came out with a book, a better book, called The Corroding Empire. And what was funny about this, and it just released this morning. We timed it so it released the day before. And it was getting really, really good reviews. We had, I think, 15 reviews, very positive and that sort of thing. What's really funny is that Tor went running to Amazon and begged them to give it the boot. And Amazon actually did it. This is the second time that we've seen, this is the second time. Well, in fairness, we were first to go live, but they did have their pre-order up first. So, anyhow, it was kind of funny because, we were always aware of the possibility of this. So we had an alternative title. Instead of The Corroded Empire, it's now just called Corrosion. It has a better cover, original cover, instead of the imitation cover. And then we changed the name from Johan Kalsi to Harry Seldon. And no, I am not a veteran. Anyhow, well, it's hard to beat somebody to the punch when you don't know what they're going to call the book, and you don't know what the cover is going to be. However, what we did predict is that it was going to be a ripoff of Asimov, and so that was a good call. I have to say though, I'm kind of kicking myself. As you might be able to tell from the title of this Darkstream, I'm an old Sisters of Mercy fan, and I cannot believe that we didn't call the book this Corrosion. But anyhow, Corrosion. It's actually a better title. And the funny thing is, the book started out as a joke. But when I talked to the author, and I said, okay, you're gonna do something like Foundation, but let's think about it in terms of what if galactic society is very heavily dependent on machine algorithms, and what happens? Nobody pays any attention to these things once they start. Even now, today, with machine intelligence, the code is altering itself. So what do people do when the code starts going wrong? Nobody can fix it. Nobody knows what's going on. I thought that was actually a better premise than the original premise of Foundation in the first place. And Lord knows it was a better premise than the one that Scalzi concocted. So anyhow, the author took it and really ran with it very effectively. And so, we got that out, and I think people like it. Amazon has already approved it, but it's already shows live inside their system, but it's not actually available on Amazon yet. However, you can get it with the original title and the original cover at the Castelia House bookstore if you're so inclined. But anyhow, so that was today's amusement. That was fun. Actually, today was a good day, I have to say. I was really happy. I've had this nagging shoulder injury for something like, I don't know, 3 years, and it's kind of kept me from really being able to go even remotely heavy. And so it was nice today to be able to actually rep out 10 reps at 225. I'm down obviously a bit from where I used to be, but it's nice to know that even in one's middle age that you can still kind of. That's always what I've considered to be like a respectable lift. Like if you can do at least 10 reps at 225 on the bench, that's respectable. The first stage is, can you do 10 reps at 135? That's when you first start lifting. I can remember when I was in college on the track team, and they put me on the bench. I'd never lifted before, and it was funny because it's only 135. It just goes down nothing. And so when you get to that point where you can do 10 reps at 135, or you can do 1 rep at 225, that's when you start feeling good. I can't get anywhere near, and of course, then the most exciting thing is when you can get that 1 rep at 315. You get the 3 plates on each side. That's when you start feeling like a beast. But those days are long gone. I am not benching 315 these days. It makes my shoulders hurt just to think about it. But it's so important for men to do. It's so important to, and it's just as important for women actually. What's kind of interesting to me is some of the most slender women that you see. My wife Space Bunny is quite slender, and she's been a gym bunny for our entire relationship since that's basically, I think our first date we went and worked out and lifted. And it's always kind of funny how, then there's some other younger women there, and it's always the really slender ones that are in there hitting the weights, and it really helps so much. I can always show my wife. No. Anyhow, it's you feel so much better. I mean, just like today after finishing up my workout, just felt good. I was just in a good mood. And it's really, it just, it improves your mood. It improves how you look. It improves how you feel. I don't lift. Now, one thing I did have to start doing is my doctor was on me to lower my cholesterol a bit. And so now what I'm doing is I walk on the treadmill for 20 minutes every day before I work out. Now, I don't go to the gym every day because I play soccer. So, on the days that I play soccer, I don't lift. I did that once. No, jogging is not a good idea once you hit my age. Jogging is fine. I jog twice a week when in the off season. You just have to do it in order to keep your this season. We just started the season recently, and I could really tell that I was good about running in the off season on the treadmill because I was just in my wind was a lot better. I was in much better shape. But now that the season started, I won't do that. But you can't run every day the way that you can walk every day because it's hard on your joints. And so, no, I just walk flat. It's just a standard 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm nearly 50 actually. It's increasingly painful. I was just I ran into a friend I hadn't seen in a couple of years today, and it was funny because he was saying, "Oh yeah, the season's starting and all that," and it's like, no, I'm 48. There's no question about it. My wife is the one who actually looks quite a bit younger than her age. Anyhow, but the thing is that the more active that you are, the more that you lift weights, eat reasonably. My diet's not great. I was getting a bit overweight about a year ago, and my wife informed me of that fact, and so we started doing a little bit of the juicing thing. We haven't been doing that for pretty much since I think November, but it's just a matter of realizing that every 5 to 7 years, you have to take a look at your diet and then kind of cut things down. Like for me, I had to give up cereal in the morning. And I used to just have, my entire life, I just had a big bowl of cereal in the morning. And then as I got older, it became a small bowl of cereal. And now I just have a piece of toast and a cappuccino in the morning. And, that works just fine. That's all I need. And then, lunch, sometimes juice, sometimes wine and cheese, whatever. And then a normal dinner. I was actually having toast and eggs, but then the doctor wanted, for the cholesterol thing, he wanted me to try cutting them out. Didn't make a damn bit of difference, so I probably could do that. The blood sugar, all the stuff. The doctors do all that stuff. But I have no issues or anything. The doctor is actually quite pleased with all the blood work and whatnot. Although it was kind of funny I got chewed out by him pretty badly about 3 years ago. I had so many things wrong with me. I had I think 5 separate, problems. One of them was the shoulder. And the doctor said, he's like, you got to come in, we got to do all these tests. So I do all these tests. And then he called me back and I said, what's going on? He said, well, you're completely fine. He said, you're actually extremely healthy. I said, well, okay, why are you so concerned? He said, well, your body was breaking down so badly that I was concerned you had something wrong, that was, something systemic that was wrong, like cancer or something. And so he said, well, let's go over each of these things. And, basically I was overtraining, and I wasn't mixing my training up enough. And so things were just breaking down, mechanically breaking down. And so anyhow, my point is that, these are things that you can and should be doing regardless of what your age is. I've seen men who are 20 years older than me that are ripped. You would not believe their actual age. If you didn't know how old they were, you would guess that they were 20 years younger. I hope that when I hit 60 and 70, that I'll be in that kind of shape. That's my goal. And I don't think you can or you should devote your life to it. I mean, there's no need for that kind of excessive vanity. But it is very beneficial to take that 1 hour a day to lift, to run, to do whatever it is that you'd like to do to get that endorphin addiction going, and that will help complete you. I'm a big believer in the Greek body, mind, soul concept. You have to exercise your body. You have to exercise your mind. You have to feed your soul. And so, these things all of these things are equally important, and too many of us too easily find ourselves focusing too much on one thing, focusing too much on another thing. It's really key to just, take that time. Like right now, I need to be better about working on some of my language study. I haven't been doing a very good job with that. I would probably do better to, there's some people, friends and stuff, that it would be better for me to spend a little bit more time making sure that I make the time to hang out with them, to do stuff with them. But then again, there are things like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to play soccer. I'm already the oldest guy on the team. And so, I'm going to take advantage of that and play as long as I can. I recently picked up another position last season, outside defender, just because that gives me, that gives the captain one more place he can put me if he needs me. So, so it's always looking for ways that you can improve yourself. And, well, it also depends on who you're playing with. The league that I play in, we have 2 international players. I mean, by international players, I mean guys who played professionally and played for the national team. So it's an extremely high level, and it can be pretty brutal. I mean, that's why I'm, training in the off season, just so I don't get run off the field. So I was a 100-meter sprinter. I think my best time was like 10:06. So that's actually one reason why I can still play, even though I've lost my speed. I'm still faster than the average player, even though they're 10, 15 years younger or whatever. I seem to have got a little bit, there's this, they talk about, with Jim Thorpe, they talk about there's this Native American strength speed thing. Some Native Americans are just weirdly strong and fast, and I seem to have got a bit of that, just because I was nearly very close to be able to bench double my body weight, and I was obviously quite fast. So anyhow, this is kind of just a rambling rambling thing. But I was so happy today. I mean, all I wanted to talk about today was, frankly, was the bench press. Just because I was in such a, it was one of those things where you're like, I feel pretty good about doing 6. And then, so you hop on and then, you get to 6 and it's going fine. And you're like, yeah, I can do more. And, and then just carrying it through all the way. It felt good. I mean, I think I maybe even could have gone for 11 or 12, but, I didn't want to do anything crazy. Let's see, listen to music while benching. No, I read, actually. I mean, not while I'm actually benching. I was reading Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment, in between sets. So that's what I like to do. In fact, I didn't really have a choice. I'm actually reading it because I'm going to be on Stefan Molyneux's show in a couple days, and he wanted to talk about Crime and Punishment. So, I'd read it before, but it's I figure if I'm going to talk about it with Stefan, I had better be current on it and refresh my memory a bit. And the thing that was interesting, I won't say too much just because I want to save it for Stefan's show, but it was interesting. It was interesting to note that some of the stuff that we see in the socio-sexual hierarchy, some of the mentalities that we talk about when we're talking about gammas and SJWs and stuff, are actually presaged in Crime and Punishment. You see a lot of those negative mentalities at work in Dostoevsky's work. And so I thought that was kind of fascinating. It's just something that I hadn't, something I definitely hadn't picked up on the first time I read it. So, about the FBI and so forth, Comey is a weird cat. My wife and I were talking about that earlier. It's just like he seems to be all over the place. I mean, first he seemed like he was kind of Trump friendly, and now he seems to be a bit of an enemy. Sometimes he looks like he's just not being truthful. Some of the stuff that he says just really doesn't make sense. And so I was saying that it just wouldn't surprise me if it eventually came out that he was being pressured or influenced somehow, because he really does seem to be talking out of both sides of his mouth or something. So I'm a little bit surprised. I'm a little bit surprised that Trump keeps him around. Obviously, the good thing is that the God Emperor is clearly getting much more serious about making sure that he's got people around him who are on his side. They're on Zero Hedge, they were complaining that he's got loyalty police or something operating inside the various agencies. But I think that he probably needs that. I mean, they're trying to claim that this is somehow a bad sign, but the reality is that there are so many people that have made it clear inside the agencies that they are opposed to him, and so he needs an inquisition. Frankly, I think he ought to appoint his son. He ought to appoint Donald Trump Jr., just name him Grand Inquisitor, and set him to putting them to the test and so forth. Make sure that he's got loyal subordinates that he can count on. But the thing is that I don't think that we need to tell the God Emperor what to do. I think he has excellent instincts, and more importantly, he is clearly able to turn on a dime. And when he decides something that's not working, he immediately turns around and tries a different approach. And that's a real strength, and I think that's going to serve him extremely well. So, anyhow, that's pretty much all I've got. I'm going to start right now. I'm going to start working heavily on SJW's Always Double Down and try to get that done. Can I talk more about taking inspiration from lesser authors? Well, Okay, what a lot of people don't know about Shakespeare is that many, if not most, of the plays that he wrote were actually previously written by other playwrights. They like to talk about how, he took things from different historians, but in many cases, there were actually existing plays that had been written that he ended up taking and essentially rewriting. And nobody even remembers these plays for the most part anymore because Shakespeare's are so much better. Now I've done something. I mean, Disney did this. One of the books here. I don't know if I have it in sight. I think I've got it upstairs. These are not all my books. We've got many other bookshelves in the house, but I have a collection of Italian fairy tales. I think Roberto Calvino put them together, and it's really interesting because he compares some of the same stories, the Italian version, the German version, and so forth. And so, you see these old stories, and then you see the version that Disney did, and then much later you see the version that Tanith Lee did. Tanith Lee also did an amazing, if incredibly creepy and dark version of these things. Cinderella, the servant of Satan, Ashella, as she's called, and so forth. Really fantastic if you like darker fantasy. But I did the same thing. There's a book that I really liked very, very much, The Program Man by Gene and Jeff Sutton. And so we published it. But the problem was that it was just clunky. There was some stuff about the Chinese characters that in these days, even to non-SJWs, probably bordered a little bit on racism. Not in an intentional way, but just in sort of a clunky way. And some of the prose the dialogue especially was a little bit brutal. And so I thought, this is such a good story. It's too bad that people aren't going to read it. They're just not going to give it a chance. And so I thought, at the time I was wanting to do another Quantum Mortis book, and I thought, I could, with a few tweaks, this story would actually fit very well in the Quantum Mortis universe. And so, so I took that and basically added to it. I was very careful to remove or change as little as possible, but instead of changing it by taking his stuff out and transforming it, the author's dead, so that wasn't happening. I added to it. I basically took what he had as a starting point, polished a few edges and then extended it. Now, that's the way to do it. I had on the blog somebody, first of all, you take from a lesser source and then you add to it, as opposed to what that guy did, Care. I guess he did a rewrite, as he called it, of G.K. Chesterton's The Man Who Was Thursday. But he took all the others. He basically took a great author and then took a whole bunch of stuff out. He was talking about how he took all the religious symbolism out, and he took all this, and he took all the philosophical stuff out because he's an atheist and he doesn't believe in religion and he doesn't know anything about philosophy. Well, right there, you don't have to read the book to know that it's not going to be anywhere nearly as good as Chesterton's, because the guy just removed all the depth. And so that's exactly how you don't do it. All the stuff that like Scalzi is doing, he's just basically trying to rip people off so he can sell books. That works. It's worked for him. But yeah, exactly what this guy's saying. You don't rip off the Terminator because everybody knows it. Go and find some 1930s, 1940s pulp thing, and improve it. Do something, update it, and improve it, and give it more depth, or give it more action, or add to it. Don't just replace the stuff that you don't like on the basis of your individual biases. It's not going to be interesting. It's not going to be good. And so, yeah, and I do think that, I mean, can you imagine the Father Brown books without his Catholic faith? I mean, they're not great detection books. They're not great mystery books, but they're very interesting because of Chesterton and Father Brown's insight into the human heart and into human psychology. I think nihilism is a very logical, rational perspective. I think it's wrong, in that I think that people get it wrong. But the nihilists are the only atheists that I consider to be rational. Nihilism is proper atheism. That is the philosophically correct outcome of atheism. I don't think it is any basis for a human society. I don't think it is any basis for human life, but I do think that it is intellectually defensible. So I have more respect for genuine nihilists than I do for atheists who practice moral parasitism and basically kind of do what I was describing those authors doing. They take an existing moral system and trim away a few things that they don't like to suit their personal preferences. That's just silly. Well, agnosticism is just an honest confusion. There's no need for me to debate Sam Harris. Sam Harris is not capable of debating me. I actually helped him correct the questions for one of his experiments. If you want to read, my criticism of Sam Harris, there's a chapter in The Irrational Atheist, which is completely devoted to the various errors and mistakes that he makes. And there's also a critique of another one of his books at the end of On the Existence of Gods. So, well, the reason that people think that Harris is smart is because, he tells them what they want to hear. And also, it's not the highly intelligent people who think that Harris is smart. It's basically the midwits. It's the people with, if you see someone who thinks that Sam Harris is really smart, his IQ is probably around 110. Because nobody who is Mensa level or higher thinks that Harris is smart. They know he's not smart. He leaves holes you can drive a truck through in practically every argument that he makes. No, I don't think he's autistic. I've reached the conclusion that he's just sloppy. He's just careless. He doesn't. He's got a good thing going, and so unless he's focused on getting it right, which he isn't, it doesn't matter. And so I don't think that Harris is that terribly arrogant. I think that he enjoys being perceived as being highly intelligent. But it's kind of funny because he loses every debate he gets into. His all. No, 110 IQ is quite is probably pretty accurate there. What you notice if you read a debate with Harris, and it doesn't matter if it's with a Christian or an atheist or whatever, by the second Harris response, he will be insisting that the person quoting him doesn't understand him, quoted accurately. So anyhow, like I said, I think Harris is probably a pretty likable guy. My IQ, 150. So, I'm not the smartest guy around, but, it's, in fact, it's not that big a deal. I think that I had the in the yes, my tests were accepted by Mensa and so forth. The thing that's funny is that I think of the 4 guys in the house, I was my IQ is number 3, so I'm quite accustomed to being around extremely intelligent people. One of my uncles was at his accurately tested IQ is 175, and so that's what I think sometimes people don't really quite understand, is that most people who are highly intelligent are considerably less impressed by it than the people who are moderately intelligent. It's because if you're highly intelligent, you usually run into a couple people that are just you can understand how much smarter they are, and so but yeah, and then there's also the difference between intelligence and wisdom. There's the thing you need to keep in mind, the downside of intelligence is that you have the ability to convincingly rationalize. No, that's a very stupid statement. You're obviously not very intelligent if you're going to say that. All highly intelligent people know it and are perfectly willing to admit it. It's like tall people trying to deny that they're tall. But what I was saying was that I lost my train of thought. Anyhow, yeah, there's no point in false modesty. Humility is not a trait of higher intelligence. Oh yeah, what I was going to say is that the more intelligent you are, the easier it is to convincingly rationalize and defend an incorrect position. And so, you can very easily, if I want to, I can take a position that I know to be wrong, and I can effectively argue it in a way that will probably convince most of you. And that's a very dangerous thing for the intelligent person to do. That's why philosophy is so important, and that's why a dedication to the truth is so important. It's very hard sometimes to not make that, to not use that dodge, to not, when somebody asks you a question and there's a flaw, then you have to, you have to not hide it. You just have to say, okay, I don't know, or maybe I'm wrong, or that sort of thing. Yes, gammas are almost all more intelligent than the norm, and they're almost all not highly intelligent. And so, those are the kind of folks that tend to be most impressed by being a little bit smarter than the norm. I personally find them very difficult to be around. I'd much rather be around a cheerful 80 IQ person who is just, they may not know much and they don't care, and they're not trying to impress you with anything. And that's the most, I think that's the most important thing to understand, is that intelligence, height, strength, speed, these things, they're just attributes. They don't make you any better than anyone else. They don't make you a better person. They don't make you more successful. They can if you utilize them properly. But if you don't utilize them properly, if you don't exercise what you have, they're meaningless. And so that's why I encourage people not to get caught up in, being good at this or whatever, or not getting caught up in the fact that you have an attribute. And it doesn't matter what the attribute is. Physical beauty is a very, very difficult thing, especially for women. It screws them up. It takes a woman of very strong character to be beautiful and not give in to the temptation to rely on it or even abuse it. In the same way that the same thing is true of being wealthy. So anyhow, I've rambled on enough for tonight. So have a good evening, and I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.